Hey everybody, this is Harry here coming to you from beautiful Swanee County, where it is nice 85 degrees, a little breeze, sky's blue, only one grandchild here. He decided to go in because it was too warm for him. So, anyways, this is a response to Bob of the Norse chat about their first time noticing cinematography in a film. And I watched a lot of TV growing up in the 70s. A lot of TV shows and such, and a lot of movies with my mother on the weekend. We would watch, Godzilla movies and Abbott and Costello and Tarzan films and such like that. The normal stuff that was on TV back then. And but when I first started going to movie theaters, um, the first film that I really noticed the cinematography was in Rocky, the original Rocky, when I was 10 years old, and I just loved looking how they filmed Philadelphia um, in the 70s. The cinematography in the 1970s is probably my favorite time period. Besides maybe the late 50s, early 60s when they were experimenting with CinemaScope and VistaVision, um, because those films look beautiful, especially now on Blu-ray. They look great. But when you were growing up watching those films, a lot of them were pan and scan, so you never got the full thing. So if you watched a John Ford picture like the Searchers, you never saw the whole thing. And then when you watch it on Blu-ray or DVD, when they have it on widescreen, you're like, wow, how beautiful. That was the golden age, I think, of cinematography. Um, was the 50s and 60s. Um, and the widescreen format became popular. Even black and white films back then looked beautiful. But the 70s is my favorite because of the realism of a lot of the films. If you watch, like The Conversation, uh, Dog Day Afternoon, Rocky, Taxi Driver, all those films, Network, the realism of the city of New York or Philadelphia or Los Angeles. They showed how it was back then. A lot of the scenes were not intrusive. They weren't like right in your face. If you notice, a lot of them had long shots. They'd be walking up the street in Manhattan, Al Pacino or somebody like that, or Robert De Niro, and they're walking within a crowd, and looks like the camera's miles away and it's focusing. I love that stuff. French Connection is another one that's great. But for me, when going to the movies, it was Rocky that I noticed the cinematography. I loved the scene where Rocky runs up the courthouse there in Philadelphia, and then you can see Philadelphia off in the distance. The scenes in the street, him running. I love that, and they won't make movies like that anymore. Um, the '80s, they had some great cinematography in it. Um, Blade Runner, which was the one that Ian mentioned, looked great. The Natural with Robert Redford out of Africa with Meryl Streep looked great. Um, Even like Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan from the '90s. Um, Great cinematography in that one. Braveheart. There's just so many of them. The '60s though, once Blu-ray or DVD and Blu-ray came out, and you were able to see these films not in pan and scan, but in this widescreen format, looks so wonderful. Like I said, The Searchers was one of them. Um, Hold on. Good. No ice. No alcohol. Can't have any alcohol. Blood thinner. Early death is not my choice right now. So sparkling water with strawberry in it. So yeah, Lawrence of Arabia, the first time I seen it, I watched it on TV. It was pan and scan, so you've seen half of the actors. Like you could see Richard Harris or Peter O'Toole. I mean, talking to somebody, but you never seen the person. Now with widescreen, you can see it, and then the scenery and the desert and such like that. Perfect, great cinematography in it. So yeah, you missed out if you watched it on television. That's for sure. And now with the or bigger screens at home, um, some even have bigger. Um, I have a 55-inch in the bedroom and a 60-inch in the living room. But I mainly watch the 4K one in here, and it's great. I watched a movie with Terrence Malick the other day called Tree of Life, and his films. If you watch his films, I've watched them slowly. It's really like Badlands and The Thin Red Line and uh, Days of Tomorrow. Can't think of the one with Richard Gere. Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But anyways, those are all beautifully shot. He cares about the cinematography in his films, how they look, how each shot is set up and lit. And Tree of Life looked beautiful. The first thing I noticed um, was the cinematography in it and how beautiful the shots were made. You know, the people like Jessica Chastain or Brad Pitt in the film, the kids, how it was shot. It was just everyday life. It was just beautifully shot. And then I use cinematography like when I log my films in the letterbox. It goes as a point or a half point, whatever, towards my score. So if could be a crappy film, but the cinematography is great in it, it'll give it a little bit of boost. Because that's an important thing for me is watching the cinematography in it, beautiful landscapes. Um, Now that I got the 4K, and I haven't watched all of my 4K ones, um, but I've been looking forward to watch First Man. I've had it for a while, and I've watched it on Blu-ray, and it looked great on Blu-ray. So I could just imagine on 4K what the First Man looks like, about the Neil Armstrong. Um, but the cinematography in that one is really good as a film that just come out recently. So not too cool about the CGI, special effects, and cinematography, but I like the old school 70s. So anyways, I hope that answers your question, Bob. I rambled on enough. Thank you for the question. Comments, as Mike says, as wow, bright as welcome.